Hello there. This video is specifically made for those who want to learn synthesis from scratch. We're going to use a modular software, a modular synth software, to explain how a synthesizer is built. So this is going to be useful if you want to do anything about modular synthesis. It's a great video to start with. It's going to be good for anybody who wants to use any type of synthesizer that you never understand really quite how it works. And we're doing that with MooMu modular synthesizer. The presets I'm going to use and I'm building here are for MooMu, and they will be available in MooMu at one point. I don't know if it's going to be out when I release this video. If not, do as I did on screen and you'll understand. And even if you don't have MooMu, when you play an instrument, you're giving energy to a piece of the sound that will vibrate. You blow into a flute or a trumpet. You pluck a string on a guitar. When you play a drum, you hit a skin. And when you play a piano, you actually hit a string on the keyboard. All these different ways of generating sound comes from an source of energy, your fingers or a hammer, that transfer energy to a piece that vibrates, that oscillates, and then you hear that. And the evolution of the sound depends on how you play it. It depends on how it's built, how it resonates, and that's what you're trying to control here, is these evolution of sound with the filter mostly in this case. How do we control that? How can we control that? Because right now what we have is just sources of sound always playing. It's just always on. And unless I touch the filter, so it's not really useful if I'm playing with my keys. If I'm playing the music, I want it to respond like an instrument. So that's where we're going to go with what are going to be the different controllers to control this. Because let's go back to how a synthesizer is built. There's basically two types of, actually, I would say three types of modules or parts in a synthesizer. You've got the audio signal parts. So the source that we have here, the VCO is an audio signal. The filter is an audio signal. It will change the sound. The VCA is an audio signal. So you get all of these audio module part of the signal path if you want. But also, either them or others can be used as controllers. They can change or modify how these audio module react. Let's try to understand now envelopes, because envelopes are the primary source of control that you use in a synthesizer to have the instrument react to the way you play. So if we go back to the notion of having a keyboard, as I press a key, I'm triggering what we call a gate. It will trigger a signal that says I'm playing what we call a note on. I say on, off. So as I play the key, it's on, off. If you look at the scope here, the blue square is the gate as I press it. The green one is the way the envelope reacts. Now we have 4 different envelopes. The one we always hear about is the ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, and release. AD is attack and decay. You see, it's just the first 2 parts of the ADSR. AR is the attack and release only. So it's just the first and the last part. These are all really great but simple envelopes. And this one here, the envelope called envelope, also has attack, decay, sustain, release with control for each of them. And here in the mode, you can switch between the ADSR mode, you can switch to AD mode or AR mode. So this one is really cool because it includes all of them, plus control for each of these, plus output for each of these. So when you go modular, this becomes really wicked, and the way that this envelope can control many different things at the same time. So it becomes a little bit weird if you wanted to. Most time we do. We like weird when we do modular. But for now, let's just make it clean so we understand. Let's just make... Now, if I press the key, I'm going to bring down the attack. If you look here, when I press the key, that's the gate. That's the kind of a purple line means when the key was actually actively pressed on. So as I pressed the key, it started the movement here of opening up, which is this attack length here. So it just opened up the filter, because this one is The envelope output is controlling the filter cutoff point. So it takes this value here and turn it up here because I decided to say I want the maximum depth of movement coming off the envelope, okay? And then when I get to the maximum, it switched to the next one, which is decay, because my finger is still actively pressed on. So the decay is actually, you see, this is longer than this, so it drops faster because this one is slower, this one is faster because this is time, this is duration. So a longer time is longer, a shorter time is faster. So this one, the decay is fast, the attack is longer. It's not a long one, but it's longer. That's why we hear it open up. And then it gets to the sustain here, which is the value I picked here, which is close to the mid value. And then when we release the key, when you stop playing the note, it switches to the last state, which is the release, and then it goes that part. Okay, so we have. Let's say we change the decay to be longer. This is very long. Okay, and if I want something like. So I want to do something like a bass, like something like, and it's cool, but I think it opens up too much. It becomes too rich. I want it to be more dark. So then I'm going to have to go into the amount here because I'm going, cutoff means this is the minimum value. It's closed. And as I press the key, it opens up. But I don't want to open, let's say I want to open up after the movement. So it means that the movement that I'm forcing on the cutoff points, I'm basically sending the shape of this envelope to take that button here, cut off and opening up and close. But I'm asking it to open up here and then closing instead of opening up to the maximum and closing. So that's the depth of the movement. And if I have a slower decay, and just by playing with this one, I can control how dark my bass will be. Or bright. So this is really, if you understand this, there's a lot of things you can do with a synthesizer because the concept of depth is now very clear. And the shape of the envelope, well, now you have to think about how you want the instrument to react to the way you play. And of course, you should think about how an actual acoustic instrument is being triggered in real life, like a bass, a piano, a string. If you want a pad that comes in slowly, well, you understand that if you want it to come in slowly, you have to have maybe not too much, but maybe like this. Even slower. Again, if you want to change the sound of it, remember that you can change the model. If you go back to the moody one, you get right away, you get some of my tricks to make cool percussion and analog sounding percussions here. Remember that there's also a drive here. And the drive gives more presence, more chaos in the frequencies before it gets to the filter. So hearing that bass that we just did earlier, by changing to a mellow, cutting down the cutoff to 0, half of the movement, add plenty of drive, it just adds that. It sounds more like a bass that has an attack to it without being too rich in frequencies, you know? So It's all a question of what you want for this. Envelopes. You can also have a AD, attack and decay, just on the pitch. And you go, why would I want the pitch to move? Because right now, the way I'm patched, I've got my keyboard, MIDI keyboard comes into this, and it comes out with voltage per octave. Usually I would send this to the VCO to control the pitch. But what I want right now is to control the pitch with a combination of the keyboard notes, because as I go up the keys, the control of the octave or the note is sent by the MIDI note here, but it could be anything that sends voltage control that could control the pitch. What I want to do here is I want to send it to the mixer, and in the mixer I also send the AD, the attack and decay, that is triggered by the gate at the same time. So that gate, as I play the key, triggers 3 envelopes at the same time, the AD, the ADSR for the filter, and the ADSR for the VCA. The mixer here combines the voltage control from my keyboard as I play and the voltage control that comes out of the AD, because that's what it is. It's a voltage control, virtual one, but that's what it is. Then the combination of the two is sent to the pitch, the voltage control input of the VCO. So if I see, everything's at 0, it does not control the VCO. If I bring this one, the voltage is sent to the 1. If I bring it to the maximum, it equals the right amount of voltage per octave. So I'm actually playing the keys. So the control now is the voltage of the keyboard controlling the voltage of the VCO. If I want to play also the AD, which is plugged into 2, I can bring that up a little bit. So what I have a quick attack that goes to the maximum, and then it decays. You've got a decay that goes to the sustain, which I don't have. So for the attack, it only goes, it kind of glides to the note. It stays there. So it depends on what you want to do, but some instrument is interesting to have this. And if it's too much, you can bring that down. Some brass instrument, when you blow into them, and you kind of go higher than the pitch, and then it settles to the pitch. So it's a question of analyzing what type of sound you want to mimic. But an example for a kick drum, some kicks likes to go boo, kind of go down, especially if you want to mimic the 808 kick. It goes boo, and it's not just boo, it's boo. It drops down, and it will be the AD you would use, because you just need the attack and decay, and then when you sustain, you're at the kick note if you want to. I hope this is clear.